What's up, everybody? It's your boy, Paper Warrior 20, back at you again with another ranking video. Today, we're going through all the Survivor seasons that I have personally seen. Now, listen, I've grown up with the show. I've seen a lot of it. I've rewatched a lot of these seasons, and I think there's some different strengths and there's some different weaknesses to a lot of these. I like a season with a good winner. I like a season that's edited well. I also like a season with a lot of twists and turns. But I don't love a season with a lot of game bodiness. I mean, we'll see that with a Cambodia. That I don't love these game bot seasons that don't have a lot of emotion in them, and we'll see that. But we're gonna rank these seasons in a tier list. Here we have S tier, A, B, C, D, F, and haven't seen tiers. And I'm going to be frank with all of you. I haven't seen a lot of the Australian survivors or the other survivor seasons. Like, for example, Celebrity, Survivor Vanuatu, Australian Survivor. I haven't seen any of these. I watched one Australian Survivor season that was with King George. I loved King George. It was his first season. It was Brain versus Brawn, and I love King George, but I don't know enough about the different Australian seasons to actually know which one he was on. I kind of got lost in all that, but I loved it when he was kind of fighting with Simon and he was doing his whole King George shtick. Let me pull out my idol and fake you out. But yeah, haven't seen through those all in there. And the first one we have here is Survivor Vanuatu. I loved Survivor Vanuatu. Eliza might be my number one favorite contestant in all of Survivor. I desperately want Chris Doherty to come back. The fact that he got so under Jeff's skin was amazing. I love Twyla. I love Scout. I love all these different people. I'm putting Vanuatu in A tier. I think that Chris Doherty's winning game is the best underrated winner going to the very end, figuring his way out to the end, where he didn't rely on idols, he didn't rely on a lot of immunity wins, but he was able to snake his way in there and be a slimy son of a gun, and was able to do it. I like that about him. Palau, I'm not a big Stephanie LaGrossa fan. At the time, she was massive. It was fun challenges. I liked Bobby John. I liked Tom Westman. Survivor Palau goes in B tier. I mean, it was kind of boring at times, but it was an all-around solid season, kind of like Tom. Survivor Guatemala, Judd. I take back what I said about Eliza. Maybe you can tell who my favorite contestants are based on that, but Judd and Eliza might be two of my favorite contestants of all time in Survivor. Survivor Guatemala had some good twists and turns, I guess. I like Gary Hogaboom, the first idol that was ever found. I'm gonna put it in C tier, and it might go up later, but I doubt it. Survivor Panama, S tier. Again, slow parts of the season, but I think it might be the funniest season that Survivor's ever seen. We have Bruce pooping his pants. We have them in the Charmin Shack. We have Sari navigating all the change antics. We have Courtney on crack. I love Survivor Panama. Easily in my top five favorite seasons. Cook Islands, look, there's a lot of all-stars that came back from Cook Islands, so they had the talent, but it just didn't translate in Survivor Cook Islands. I'm putting it in F tier. Survivor Fiji, I loved Yao Man, loved Earl Cole. I the best part of the season car was the car with Yao Man and Dreams. Other than that, I wasn't a massive fan of anything that happened around the merge. I'm going to put it in D tier. And look at that, we have a line. Survivor China goes up in my S tier. I think that's pretty universal. Tom, Todd. Todd was great. James was a beast. I love James. The fact that Amanda came back three times after Survivor China is astounding to me. When I showed my girlfriend Survivor for the first time, Survivor China was the first season I told her to watch. because I just love it so much. I think it's the best season to get your feet on the ground, your boots on the ground, and to just see an all-around game that involves the social strategy. And it's not as slow as those original seasons for today's time and today's mindset with all our TikTok brains. Micronesia. Now I'm going to be lower on Micronesia than most. Again, I think the early game is very boring. I'm not a big fan of it. You obviously have your peaks with Ozzy getting voted out, the Black Widow Brigade. Once you get into that mid to late merge, it's a lot of fun. But everything pre-merge, I'm not a fan of. I'm going to put it in C. Survivor Gabon, the Sugar Shack. I love the Sugar Shack. I love Crystal Cox. Kenny, I always thought deserved another chance back, but listen, it's a mess of a season. And I kind of like the mess of seasons where it doesn't exactly go as the producers want. All the people that they actually like got voted out early, and you're just kind of left with this amalgamation of people that they don't really want there, but they're going to stay there and they're going to like it, I guess. Survivor Gabon, I'm going to put you in B tier. Tokensheens, S tier. I love Survivor Tokensheens. I think maybe the best newbie cast of all time. Coach, I think if you put Coach on an island by himself and just put a camera on him, I think that would get good ratings in and of itself and might be one of my favorite seasons of television of all time. Could you imagine? Just like Castaway with Tom Hanks, replace Tom Hanks with Coach and make it kind of like a Truman Show kind of style where Coach doesn't know why he's there, but Coach is just going to sit there and try and survive. I think that might be the greatest show of all time. It might rival something like The Sopranos in just greatness. Samoa, it's obviously the Russell Hantz show. I kind of like watching just a scumbag weasel kind of weasel his way around the island. I'm going to put it in C tier because, listen, the winner is not satisfying. And I get that the winner deserves to win. But the way they edited that season made it so nobody liked Natalie all that much. And for that reason, I don't think they did a great job of making the season, so it goes in C tier. Heroes versus Villains, my favorite season of all time. It's just the best returning cast of all time, the best plays of all time. Even though I wasn't a fan of Samoa, Russell Hanson, Heroes versus Villains was my favorite player of all time. Because again, I mean, we're listening now to how big of a scumbag he is. Sandra saying that he needed to wash himself in the ocean because of what he smelled like. But at the time, it was kind of fun to have this. I don't want to call it Viagra to Survivor, but it was like an injection to Survivor, a little bit of juice. And I liked it. Nicaragua, Fabio was my favorite, and Fabio isn't enough to carry a season. I'm going to put it in D tier. Redemption Island, I'm going to put it in F tier. It was fun watching Rob dominate, but in another sense, it was maybe the least fun that I've ever had watching the show. I mean, my favorite scene of all time might be Rob running up the stairs and Jeff saying, "Oh, he's literally carrying his family on his back." But other than that, it was just kind of a slog, and I wasn't a fan. South Pacific, I feel like it's recontextualized with Survivor 50, which is great, which we'll see how it goes. But I hated Cochran then, and I hate Cochran now. He wasn't all that funny. I don't like Ozzy. Coach is fun. I liked the fact that they're slimy and they made it all about religion. I like the fact that Jack and Jill was able to make it on TV in 2011 or whatever it was and was able to be a mainstay of the show at that point. So for that reason, I'm going to put it in B tier. Survivor One World, again, it's on the same. I put it above Redemption Island, but it's essentially the same. We're watching Kim dominate, kind of like Boston Rob, and really put a chokehold on the game. Philippines, this is what brought me back to Survivor. I think after Redemption Island, after One World, I was turning off to Survivor, but it was fun. Malcolm was great. Denise, one of the best undercover, underrated winners of all time. The fact that she went to every tribal council and was still able to make it to the end, amazing. Lisa Whelchel, I wasn't of the age where I appreciated the Lisa Whelchel stuff, which was like a mainstay, and I didn't get it. But I'm a big San Francisco Giants fan, so the Jeff Kent stuff did hit for me. I'm going to put it in B tier. Caramoan, I'm higher on Caramoan than a lot of people. I think the pre-merge was fine. I think it was better than Survivor Micronesia. Maybe that's my worst take. Maybe I think that Caramoan is better than Micronesia all around as a game. I think Micronesia never hits the peaks of Caramoan, of Brenda asking Dawn to take her teeth out. I don't think, I guess I don't like Cochrane all that much, and Cochrane might spike this for me. I'm gonna put it in C tier. I'm gonna put it underneath Micronesia just because Cochrane bugs me to no end. Blood versus Water, I'm putting it in A tier. The only regret is Rupert didn't make it any further. I wanted to see Rupert in this like ultra strategic, ultra at that time it was the modern era. I wanted to see Rupert try and play an idol and figure that stuff out, but he wasn't. And he was replaced by Laura Bonham, maybe the worst Survivor player of all time, but we'll leave it at that. Pagayan, my favorite season, my favorite newbie season at the very least. Tony, Trish, Woo. You know what? I think one thing that I think Survivor could do is they could start bars. I think there would be a lot of fun Survivor bars that they could start. And I would trust Woo to be my number one bartender. I think Woo would bring so much energy to the building, so much energy to the bar business. I want Woo running whatever business I'm in charge of. Survivor, the original. It's interesting given that it's the first. That being said, with our TikTok brains now, it's kind of slow. It's kind of slow and it's kind of not what we've come to expect. I'm going to put it solid C tier because it is at the beginning and because there is some interesting stuff in there. You seeing the producers try and figure it out, it is pretty interesting. San Juan del Sur, I'm going to put it in front of South Pacific. John Rocker. John Rocker was maybe my underrated pick of the season. Jeremy Collins was my winner pick to start the season. And you know what? I feel good about that as time goes on. I knew talent when I could see it. I thought him and Val were going to run the table, but sadly, when she pulled out the two idol lie, it kind of ruined it. Worlds Apart, I like these seasons that have a little slice of reality. Listen, none of it was pretty. It wasn't, you didn't feel happy watching it, but it's a good case study on what happens in different societies. I'm putting it right behind Juan del Sur. Cambodia, like I said in the beginning, a little too game body for me. I need somebody in there to kind of slow the strategy down. I like the fact that they had a Savage there. I like the fact that they had a Keith there. I like the fact that they had a Joe there. But they got so neutralized that they didn't really matter. And it became too Battle of the Nerds for me. And for that reason, probably behind Palau. Again, I like it. I like the strategy and I like those players, but it was just a little too much for me. Ko Wrong. Again, I like the slice of life. I like the brutal nature of Ko Wrong, where so many people were evacuated. Caleb being evacuated is one of the most real scenes that I've ever seen in the show. Will was my winner. No, I'm talking about a different season at that point. But yes, no, Caleb was, it was a good time. I'll put it, I never got, so here's my thing, is I never got the feeling that Aubrey deserved to win in front of Michelle. I was never one of those people. So maybe this season is a little bit higher, or maybe it's a little bit lower because I don't think about it all that much. But Aubrey always kind of bugged me, and I was kind of happy that she didn't win. Millennials versus Gen X. I like Millennials versus Gen X. In fact, I like Millennials versus Gen X so much I might put it in A tier. The most emotional twist of the show was probably Adam Klein talking about his dead mom and being able to come back and tell his mom that he won right before she died. I also liked all the Brett stuff in this season, right? Him coming out as gay, all of that sort of again, slice of life showing us what is reality in this reality TV show. Game Changers. mm, I hated the edit in this season. I hated the boot order in this season. I hated the Zeke Varner stuff in this season. I'm gonna put it in C tier. Again, maybe if the edit was better, I would have been more bought in and I would have liked different players more and I would have followed along, but I never really understood what was happening. And for that reason, I'm gonna put it in C tier. Heroes, healers, hustlers, maybe the dumbest theme of all time. Chrissy was my winner pick before the season, and I felt vindicated in that, in the fact that she got robbed, and we can all admit it. Heroes versus healers versus hustlers. I'm going to put in D tier, maybe above Nicaragua. It's annoying. I wasn't a big fan of it. I was rooting for Ben, but we'll leave it at that. Looking back at this list, I might put Worlds Apart up here. Again, the slice of life thing. And I also love a season with a winner that kind of comes from behind and has like a swell of support at the very end. And that's Mike Holloway. And I think it's the peak of that kind of archetype in Mike Holloway. Even though at the time, as sad as I will say, I was rooting for Will because he was my winner pick at the beginning of the season. But yeah, I think that belongs in A tier. Ghost Island. It made me almost stop watching the show. I was kind of bored. I hate it when Survivor takes itself so seriously and like, oh yes, this is all that we've done over however many years, and this is why you should love us. It's always been annoying to me. And this season kind of was the peak of that. That along with Island of the Idols. Ghost Island and Island of the Idols, I think go hand in hand in being like the show's most look at me, I'm so great, everyone should love me kind of vibe. And for that reason, I hate both of them. Island of the Idols, I think, I mean, probably deserves to go into F tier. I think there's some good stuff in there, but obviously it's tainted by all the Dan stuff. It just because of that deserves to go in F tier. David versus Goliath, I think hand in hand with Palau or in Panama for the funniest season. And there's some good strategy. I'm not a big fan of Christian Hibicki. I think he's smart. I think he's kind of fun, but he just doesn't do it for me as much as others. And for that reason, and he's such a big part of the season, I think I'm going to put him in A. Edge of Extinction. So here's my fun story with Edge of Extinction is I watched the full season. I went on a trip that had me cut off from the internet and being able to look up things, but I was able to receive messages from my family. So I texted my family and I said, "Hey, you need to tell me who won the latest season of Survivor." And they sent me the screenshot of the article of saying that Chris Underwood won. And I said, "Who?" And I was in a situation where I wasn't able to watch TV for a long time. So I sat there and I got cut off from communication. I said, "Who is Chris Underwood?" So for a long time, I didn't know who won the season, and I wasn't understanding what was happening. I liked the four returnees that they brought back. I liked Chris Underwood actually watching it. I feel like the finale kind of plays like a movie. I don't like the fact that the winner was somebody that didn't play for most of the season. I don't like the fact that the peak player, the player that got most of the attention, was voted off pre-merge. And I don't like some of the duds on this cast. Listen, Gavin was boring. The the redhead girl was boring. These people are boring. And that's why these other people got all the limelight, even though they were voted off early. I'm going to put Edge of Extinction behind Micronesia. Australian Outback, I think it runs into the same problems that the original Survivor does. It's just kind of slow compared to what we're used to at this point in time. We have those peak players of Colby and Tina and Elizabeth Hasselbeck. It's maybe the most danger the survivors have ever been in. I'm going to put it right above the original Survivor in front of Edge of Extinction. I would rather watch the Australian Outback than Edge of Extinction. Winners at War. I think the I think the pre-gaming really ruined Winners at War. I liked it though. I liked Tony. Tony again, Tony is one of my favorite players and I was rooting for him hard to win, but it just didn't wow me any of it. Cheryl Lucina kind of is a dud. And again, I don't like it when people return at the end of the season and we're all like, oh no, they might win. No, they don't deserve to be there, and you should be done with it. Also, all the Edge of Extinction stuff. Too much time taken out of the episodes. Maybe if it was modern day Survivor and we had the 90-minute episodes, I would like it a little bit better, but too much time was taken out of it. Things like the Tyson boot, I never really understood at the time, and I don't think we'll ever understand. Survivor Africa, again, maybe the most danger that they were ever put in Survivor. I think I think it's Survivor Africa is funnier than Survivor Australia or Survivor. And for that reason, I would put it in front of Survivor Micronesia. I think Survivor Africa is the peak, is the pinnacle and the peak of watching people actually trying to survive out there, trying to drink out of like a pool of muddy water. Like, come on. So I'll put it there. Micronesia is fine. I didn't like it as much as Survivor, so I'll put it there. Thailand, a bunch of scumbags, and it wasn't really that fun. And it wasn't really like, at least like in some of these seasons, like let's say Cambodia, like where it's not like a ton of fun, they're at least like smart about it. Survivor Thailand, they weren't very smart about it and it wasn't very fun. I'm gonna put it behind Nicaragua. The Amazon, the birth of Rob Sesternino, the birth of Jenna Maraska and Heidi, the birth of Butch the fireman. I love Butch the fireman. And I think that if I had one person that I'd be stuck out on an island with in Survivor history, I'd want Butch. Give me some fun stories. Go collect firewood. Be like a grandpa to me. I love you, Butch. But I'm going to put you Amazon right beneath David versus Goliath. Again, maybe it's my TikTok brain, but it's a little bit slower than what I like nowadays. Pearl Islands, deserves to go in the S tier. I think Cagayan and Pearl Islands are number one and number two on newbie seasons. I think Heroes versus Villains is the best returnee season, but I think it's my second favorite. All Stars, it's a slog. It's depressing. I don't like the boot order. Survivor All Stars, D tier. Philippines, have not seen. Have not seen. You know what? There's a lot of have not seens here. And we're just going to go through all of them. I'm trying to find the season of Australian Survivor that I watched. Brains versus Brawn. I think it's this one. I think it's this one, and I loved the season of Australian Survivor. I think this season of Australian Survivor, oh, I'm trying to remember all that happened. There were so many idols. I think it was so twist heavy that it was kind of hurting the game, but the interactions between all these players were so juicy and so much fun. Survivor, Australian Survivor, Brains versus Brawn. I'm putting behind Winners at War. I know I'm putting it at the top of B tier. I like it better than all these seasons. I thought it was more fun than the rest of these. It might be the fact that it was something new and it was something fresh. And JLP brought a little excitement to my heart when I saw him. I was like, man, this is a muscular Australian Jeff Probst. Call him up, make him the next host. But it was too long. Maybe that was my biggest critique is I feel like you could shorten Australian Survivor by a few weeks, a few episodes, but I'll put it in B tier. 41, my least favorite season of Survivor. Again, too high on their supply. I think it runs into the same problems as Ghost Island and Island of the Idols. Too high on their supply and just not good. The characters weren't that intriguing. I'm gonna put Survivor 42. I wasn't a big fan of Marianne, but I did like her move when she got out Omer. I didn't like Andrea. I didn't like Ahai. I didn't like these people all that much. I'm gonna put Survivor 42 in. I'm gonna put it above Game Changers. I thought Mike was fun. I thought it was just kind of better than Game Changers. What I don't like is that 26 days, but at this point we've become accustomed to it. At the time, it really bothered me, but at this point, it doesn't really matter. Survivor 43. If you know anything about me, you know I love the Alec Gabler. Alec Gabler's win, I wish would have been edited better. I think that's my biggest problem with this season, is that Alec Gabler's win was the credit was taken away from him because all of these scumbags out there didn't want to give him the credit he deserved. But we have to take some points away from Survivor 43 because of that. For that reason, I liked it better than 42. Where did I put 42? 41 is here. 42. I liked it better than 42, but I didn't like it a lot better than 42. I'll put it here. It was kind of in the same level as Samoa for me. Heroes versus villains. I'll take that away. 44. I was loving Carolyn at the time, but other than that, I was not a big fan. I would put it behind 42 and 43, but above 41. I didn't see that. Survivor Titans versus Rebels. Is that the one that Parvati and Suri were in? Let me know. 45, maybe. No, it wasn't. But Survivor 45, I would still put behind the Philippines. Again, I'm having a hard time liking these seasons with 26 days. I think the way that it's set up makes it so that these players are so drained, so it's less fun, and it's not as taxing overall as a 39-day game season. Survivor 45 C tier. I like the core alliance, but I wish there would have been more twists and turns. Jake from this season was maybe my favorite contestant from recent Survivor. 46, this is my favorite Survivor season, New Era. I love the chaos. I love, obviously, the season tanked with Banu, and I think it was like a car that was stuck in mud that you kind of had to spin the wheels a little bit. But once they got some traction, got out of there, I think this is easily the best season, the most tension, the most mess, the least amount of strategy, but the most amount of backstabbing that we've ever seen in the new era. I'm putting it above Philippines. I'm putting it above South Pacific. I'm putting it above. I think it's right there with Gabon. I think it's an improved version of Gabon. Again, I can't put it higher because I don't like the 26 days. 47, I don't get why everyone was so high on this season. I feel like the online community, especially like Reddit, loves Survivor 47. People like Genevieve. I'm not a big fan of Genevieve. And I'm not a big fan of Rachel. I'm not a big fan of Sam. I'm not a big fan of Andy. Operation Italy was fun. It wasn't like groundbreaking, but it was definitely the peak of Survivor recently. I'm going to put 47 behind Gabon. 48, I was rooting for Joe hard. I liked Joe a lot, and he was my preseason winner pick. It got boring. The preseason, or not the preseason, the pre-merge was the best pre-merge of the new era in my mind. And because of the great pre-merge, I'm going to put it in front of 43. But again, the post-merge was so boring and such a slog that you can't go much higher than that. And Survivor 49, this is the one season of Survivor I've been completely spoiled on. given the fact that there's those spoilers for Survivor 50, and I wasn't a big fan of it. I didn't like it, I think mainly because I knew what was going to happen. For that reason, I'm going to put it in D tier. Maybe it was exciting. I didn't like the characters all that much. I'm not a big fan of Rizzo. I'm not a big fan of Sophie. I'm not a big fan of Savannah. And I think if you like those three, then the season kind of banged. You kind of loved this season, but I just wasn't that big of a fan. Now listen, this is my list. I think looking up here, there's a lot of mid seasons, a lot of teens, a lot of you have 7, you have 18, you have 15, you have Cagayan, that's the most recent season. I think this is kind of the peak Survivor for me. One, two, three, four, five, six. We can make it six, top six. And then there's kind of a drop above it. I like these seasons that are focused on one player and one character, and I also like these funny seasons. But as you can see, this is my list. I like all Survivor. I think the fun with Survivor is the fact that we all join in together and we watch this microcosm of society and we see our own faults and our own mistakes and our own greatness through the TV in this reality setting. And it's not as I maybe I'm naive, but I don't think it's as fake as the other reality TV like a Housewives or something like that. But this is my list. Let me know what you think. Let me know what your top 5 seasons are. I think that may be a good one if you made it to this point in the video. If you did make it to this point in the video, I'm very proud of you, and I'm actually pretty shocked. But let me know. Have a good rest of your day. Thanks for watching.